kids. Hey kids, you like Jesus? You like dinosaurs? Well, welcome to Kyle and Cody's Cinema Club, where we talk about underappreciated movies, the unloved, the unwanted, and the maligned. Today we're reviewing Velocipastor. I'm Kyle.
And I am Cody.
So this is a 2019... So this movie just came out last year.
Yeah. Was it 2019 or
2017? 2017 film by Brandon Steele.
It was written, directed, and edited by Brandon Steele.
Yeah, no, this guy did everything himself, kids.
Half-assedly.
Arguably
not great, he did everything himself, and that is... Here's the thing, if you write, direct, and edit your own... whatchamacallit, you pretty much have creative license to do whatever you want with it. Definitely took a lot of creative license in this.
And here's another thing. That maybe did cost him the extra $200,000 this budget needs. But, because, I mean, sci-fi is making movies like this all the time. Like, this is so much off. I haven't seen the Sharknado stuff and all that dumb crap, but it's, I mean, it is getting money, but I don't know. Have you seen anything else?
No, I've never watched a single Sharknado film in my life.
I kind of want to just compare it, but yeah, this movie cost $60,000 to make, and yeah, he's got his own creative direction, which I can appreciate, I guess. But the big gripe with this is, it's part of the joke is that they don't have money. Yeah. And that's clearly part of the joke. And is it funny?
Okay, it has its moments, but here's the thing. It had a $35,000 budget. $35,000, and it looks like it was shot basically way under budget.
Yeah. Hold on. I did say $60,000. He's right, by the way. It is $35,000. Yeah. I got it wrong.
U.S. dollars. We're Canadians. So
no. It probably does add up. Yeah. Oh, boy. So, it is like a weird thing, and like, yeah, I could... It feels wrong to just say, oh, yeah, this would have been better with another triple the budget, and... Which, yeah, you could say it could be, but is that a useful conversation in this context?
So, here's the way I look at it, is it's a movie that in itself is not trying to be good.
Yeah.
It's not winning any awards. They know that. We know that. But does that make it alright to not dunk on Brandon Steele for the shit he made, right?
And I think there is a crowd that just would not give this guy any slack.
I'm that crowd, Kyle.
Yeah.
Kyle. Yeah. I'm that crowd.
Yeah. And like there's also I watched this on YouTube. Yeah, and the guy, I paid for it. I paid the $4 on YouTube to watch it.
$4.
And there are people that are like, oh yeah, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. This is clearly their cup of tea. And it's like, this isn't... I can't take that away from them. It's like, there are definitely movies that people hate. I like that. This is turned around, is my point. Velocipastor is a movie about a pastor who goes to China, finds a mysterious artifact that a dead woman, someone gives him, and then he becomes a velociraptor and decides to fight crime.
After a run-in with a prostitute?
Yeah. No, before. During. That happened at the same time. Anyway. So the movie opens... He's doing a...
sermon?
Yeah, he's doing a sermon. Fun thing I realized that I've noticed someone needs about that. They shot that scene in such a way they don't need 2 extras.
Yes.
Yeah. They don't show the entire thing, which is good. I know it was. I don't even know if it was the parents, but it could have been. I can't. I need to.
I mean, I guess if you're looking at it like this, an extra is somebody who doesn't have any lines, right?
Yeah.
So if the parents are there further in the film,
either way, they only need 2 people, not counting him. But he opens doing his sermon, and he does the sermon, and it's like introducing the fact he's a priest. And then he finishes the sermon. He goes outside, waves to his parents who are standing outside the car. They are warped out of existence, and in a text, you see text over like sad music saying, "Inserts burning car accident here," or something to that effect.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the first sign of the budget. By the way, folks, it's just the.
See,
yeah.
This is where I run into the question, because I don't know how much it take to take a crappy car and light it on fire. And, yeah.
I think of the city. The city's the big.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Because driving into the middle of the country and setting a car on fire, that's basically legal.
Yeah.
As long as you don't catch anything else on fire. But I mean, this scene does take place in a town, so it's you can't do that. Or at least, you need hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that, or I don't know.
Control.
You could probably get it cheap if you did it in the right town, but it's not. It could easily just be what he paid for the budget, at least. Anyway, yeah, he cries, and then he meets up with the other priest. He's just like, okay, as part of your grieving process, you should go to a place where where you think God can't find you, and then when you realize that God's with you all the time, it'll cheer you up. And honestly, I don't think that's not the worst priest line I've ever heard.
No.
Yeah. No, I think that's reasonable advice, and just like, okay, you need to, you're feeling sad, and you feel like God's not with you, but maybe if you isolate yourself, you'll realize, oh yeah, he's always with you, and like that's a nice little message. And I really could have stood to have more things like this in this movie, because this not all the lines are good to the premise like this, and like that's a thing I want. It's like, okay, you've got this premise where it's like you've got a Velocipastor, like a pre-superhero. It's like you gotta lean into that a bit.
And once again, a lot of the main character, so it's a lot about him losing his faith and finding his faith, and up and down. In between that, the morality of what he's doing. Is it okay for him to break his vows if it's for a greater good, and so on and so forth, right?
And this is the thing that bums me out. It's like people have a hard time recognizing this, and they can't. They raise up the question.
Doug Jones.
Doug Jones is the guy, kind of generic name. But I've seen this plot line kind of play out in other movies, and it's like they bring it up because it's good, but no one quite has the proper answer. And I can't blame them. It's not like, oh yeah, you should have the absolute proper answer all the time for what you're bringing up, but it's just like no one is ever able to give you something satisfactory to it. And this movie doesn't end up doing that, in my opinion, toward the end.
No.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah, he goes to China.
The godless realm of China, right?
Yeah, on that, I thought it would have been first of all, it's not in China. This entire thing's filmed in Oregon. I looked that up.
I wonder what the budget to film in Oregon.
But I think it would have been way funnier if they had just been open and just like he went to Oregon. It's like, because that's
went to Oregon to find God.
Like, imagine, like, here's exactly what I'm saying. He's just like, go to a place where God can't find you. Cut. Portland. And just like I'm not saying Portland or Oregon's a bad place, but I think it would be a funny joke.
It would be.
Yeah. So yeah, he goes to this place. He's wandering around the wilderness, as people do when they go to China, typically.
Sure.
I guess.
Random forest.
I don't know. I've never been. So yeah, he's going around in the woods. Then we see this woman getting chased around. She's running, and she gets shot by an arrow. And Pastor Doug, he catches the lady, and she's like, "Oh yeah," she's talking to him in Chinese, saying like, "Oh yeah, destroy this, because if you don't destroy it, they'll just pursue you forever." Of course, she's only saying this in Chinese.
I mean, that's
point in
learning how to speak Chinese.
Yeah. Which, I mean, this is logical.
Yes.
This is, but yeah, she hands him the thing. The guy who shot her never shoots Doug, though.
No.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like...
Also, I want to go back for a second to bring up just how bad the special effects in are in these movies. Because the blood is... I mean, not gratuitous, because it's, like, really cheap and bad blood, but, like... an obsessive amount of cheap and blood.
You know what?
Like,
I was asking my buddy Brett about this, and I was asking, you know what? How fake does the blood have to be before it becomes not R-rated?
That is a really good question. Yeah, I don't have the answer to that.
But speaking of which, yeah, they do. Yeah, the blood in this does look pretty fake, even by like horror movie standards. Maybe purposely so, because there's possibility that he's just leaning into this.
But like quality over quantity. Come on, guys! You guys are like. I
don't think blood effects or fake blood is that expensive.
I don't think so.
Because here's the thing about this: it's a horror comedy, and horror's typically a little cheaper. But yeah, it's just like leaning into the fact that it doesn't have a budget, which isn't a strength for a horror film. But yeah, anyway, the guy never shoots Doug, which is weird. It's like he lets him get away. We cut to like him back in the States.
So back on that note, I don't fully understand the point of the ninja shooting the chick. Did they want the relic? Did they not want the relic?
That's like
Did they want to get the relic to destroy the relic? What's their motives behind trying to get the relic from her? And also, she calls him the Dragon Warrior, and he is a dinosaur, and this...
Here's the thing. The Dragon Warrior thing makes sense, because this is an ancient thing, and that's the origin of where dragon stuff comes from. That checks out.
Okay.
But, again, this scene doesn't really make sense, because if you were trying to reclaim the object, whether or not to destroy it or keep it, doesn't matter. You kill her and track her down. The only thing it would be is if they didn't know she had it, and he just didn't want to make this into a bigger thing. There's not a lot here to make this make sense.
No.
Yeah.
And they try and push the story on as fast as possible.
This movie's only like 80 minutes, isn't it?
An hour and 10.
Yeah, so 70 minutes. Yeah, not long. Next thing we see, he's back in the States, and he is sick in a hospital bed, which, again, they should have just kept this in Portland.
They cutted it to it.
Yeah. Because, here's another thing why they should have had to take place in Oregon, like it actually is, because they're not letting a sick guy onto a plane.
No. Not coming from China.
Like, he would have, like, though I suppose he got sick on his way back.
Okay.
Or got back. I suppose now that I'm saying this out loud. The other priest is talking to him, and it's just like, oh yeah, I feel so sick. I feel hungry. And the other priest wanders off.
Father Stewart?
Yeah, Father Stewart. Yeah, that's the guy. I guess they're... Fun thing they've talked about, these guys seem like creationists, I guess? Because, like, he's talking about dinosaurs at one point during the movie, and he's just like, oh, yeah, dinosaurs didn't exist.
Yes.
So I guess, but, I mean, I don't know. The lore of this probably doesn't make too much sense toward the end. So, yeah, he gets sick. Toward the night, he, I guess, goes werewolf and turns into a velociraptor.
Okay, on a full moon. This is what I brought up earlier, was there was a full moon, they shot the full moon, and they've never...
Yeah, like, I didn't notice this when you just brought it up. But, I mean, because also the final scene is where he is a thing is in daylight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if it's... Maybe that's how it's triggered naturally, and...
anything after that, it's more of a control thing?
Yeah.
Okay,
or like,
sense.
That's the warrior part, is like he can master a transformation.
Maybe it wasn't in the final fight. Maybe it was the fight with Alkier. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Either way, like they really like drove home the fact that they were like purposely shooting a full moon, and it might even be the same clip back to back, or maybe they're just trying to prove that it's nighttime now, which makes sense.
So yeah, after that he turns into the Velociraptor. We see a character who we had met earlier, and is met with a pimp character who's hilarious. He's fun to watch.
Frankie Mermaid.
Frankie fucking Mermaid. Yeah, he is fun. We have been introduced to the character I'm talking about now, Carol, who is a prostitute who had talked with Frankie Mermaid earlier to negotiate to get a morning meeting for business, and he tells him to go to the park because that's where the money is.
After
apparently
the most probably amazing line I've heard in a movie in a really long time, which is, "I'm lit up, hot to trot. Where do you want me tonight, Daddy-o?" And you can really see Brandon Steer is just really highlighting the fact that he's a pimp, right?
The dialogue in this movie is fun in general. It's all like really parody, like overly dramatic, which is a strength, I think. It is fun. It does go too far occasionally where they just try to like, oh yeah, we know this is silly and we're making a joke, particularly toward the end where he's just like taking on the bad guys and he's just like, but it won't save, and then they cut, and then the bad guys are like looking at their watch because he's like taking such a long dramatic pause, and then he finishes his line. Yeah, it's just a bit over the top in places. It is fun for the most part, but yeah, there are just the occasional things where it just goes a little bit too far.
Once again, going back to Frankie Mermaid, he's named Frankie Mermaid because he is swimming in bitches, and that was probably also one of the best lines ever.
Back where we were, Doug Jones, as the Velociraptor, kills a man who attempts to rob Carol, the prostitute, and he saves her, and then she takes him home. Cut to him naked in her bed. He's just like, this is actually a realistic scene where like he's not sure what's going on, and like she knows that this man was a Velociraptor a couple of minutes ago, but he doesn't remember. He finds himself naked in this woman's room, and he's just like, oh god, I've been drinking and hallucinating. Oh no, I've broken my priestly vows. And she's like, they have this all miscommunication bit. It's really fun. It ends with her saying that he needs to use this power for good. He's just like, no, I'm not going to use this power because killing people is wrong, and I'm a priest. I'm not supposed to do any of this.
Also, they stop and they go to the body at this point in time.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's in a bright orange, almost see-through dress because that's all she had that would fit him, right?
Yeah.
Because
he's not wearing pants during this.
No.
They take him to see the body, which proves him. Yeah, they half buried him.
Yeah.
And just to prove that, oh yeah, here's that guy you killed last night as a Velociraptor. And it's like, okay, I guess you're telling me the truth. And yeah, then he runs away, does confessionals, which he is late for, which Father Stewart gives him shit for. He shows up back. First confessional of the day, Frankie fucking Mermaid. Who, my favorite part of the movie, it's very reminiscent of this in the scene of 22 Jump Street, where Jonah Hill and Ice Cube have just like realized that Jonah Hill is banging Ice Cube's daughter. And earlier in the movie, Jonah Hill had just been like, oh yeah, I got laid last night. And Ice Cube's just like, yeah, high five. And then it's slowly they have the awkward scene where it's like, I'm gonna pretend there's not an elephant in the room here. It's like Channing Tatum's like looking there, what? I'm Channing Tatum in this situation. He's like, what's going on? You've been banging my daughter. And he's like, it clicks and oh shit. Yeah, that's a fun scene. Look that up. Best part of that movie too. Father Doug is taking confessional from Frankie Mermaid. And Frankie Mermaid's just like, confessing like a multitude of sins, like an unrepentant drug dealer would do his confessional. And he's like, oh yeah, I've killed people. And he's like, when was the last time you killed? Oh my god. And he's like, oh yeah, it's some, these two fuckers in a car. And
2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
his kid was outside running towards him.
Oh yeah. And she's like, oh, you killed my parents. I'm like, you bragged to his face like this. Oh my god. I love these scenes.
Okay.
Any scene where like where like they just realize that they've done this horrible thing and they have to immediately pay consequences is fun.
Yes.
It's my favorite part of most movies.
And Frankie Mermaid, I think at one point says, I don't even know why I kill people. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
To kill somebody's parents, like these two random pedestrians in the street. And he's like, but I don't know why I take these jobs. Maybe it's because it's the only way I get excited anymore or something like that. Like, he's just really trying to double down on the fact that this guy's not a nice person. At that point in time, realizes that his parents' killer is in the confession booth beside him. And he uses his powers for the first time for his own personal gain, and he shoves his hand in through the confessional booth and rips open this side of Frankie Mermaid's neck, and blood starts shooting out everywhere. Yeah.
Definitely the better of the two confessional booth murders I've seen.
What was the other?
Oh, the other one was really lame. It was like in a book. The guy, the guy's just like, when was the last time you committed murder? And he's like, now. And then he bursts open the door and just fast guys him. It's so bad. I forget the book. But anyway, we learned his second way of turning into a thing, which is like produced by like tremendous anger, where he can and he can partially transform apparently.
Yeah.
So he starts. He transforms into his arms and then grabs the guy and kills Frankie Mermaid. He then goes to Carol and tells her, "Oh yeah, she's just killed a man. I just killed Frankie Mermaid." At which she's just like, thank you so much. And just
going back onto Carol, we actually figure out that she's a prostitute, but she's a prostitute because she's trying to pay her way through medical lawyer school, which I'm like 95% certain is not an actual thing.
It's not strictly a thing, but it is something you cover. There are like medicine cases, I don't know if it's a title.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely medical law is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But she hugs him and is like, "Oh yeah, thank you." And then this helps Doug realize, okay, I can use this for good. I'm doing the right thing to at least some extent. And then they have a moment which ends in a high five, which I liked. It's like, he's a priest. He can't be just sleeping around. So it's like, oh yeah, high five. So yeah, I like that little bit of thing. Also, this is the thing I've just realized. He's the only Catholic superhero who's not devil-themed.
I don't have much expertise in
Hellboy.
I guess Daredevil.
Hellboy, Daredevil, Nightcrawler.
Okay.
All devil-themed.
Yeah,
they're the only Catholic superheroes I know.
Huh.
There might
be more. There's probably like leading Catholic superheroes.
Yeah.
Like,
there's Battle Pope.
Constantine, I wouldn't really consider
Is
him.
Is he Catholic? I don't know.
I don't know if he's Catholic, but he does a lot of stuff in like the Catholic overarch. I don't know what you'd call that.
He's probably Greek Orthodox.
Yes.
That's a historical joke. Then they do a pointless montage of him training, which is pointless because he looks sort of ripped. Like, he doesn't change body types. He's always like, he's a priest. He's allowed to exercise.
Speaking of exercises, good segue.
Yeah.
Eventually, after the training montage, at one point in time, we finally are introduced to the bad guys of the series, this giant criminal Catholic
ninja cult.
Ninja cult, I guess, is the best word for it.
Which, again, to my point about this just being set in Oregon, they're in Oregon. So, like, they could... this is obviously an international cartel, but they clearly have a branch in Oregon that they could have been evading for the entire movie. Okay. And, like, then sequel, we go to China or whatever, if he makes good profit on this. I don't know how much. I don't know.
I have not...
We heard about it.
Okay, yeah. I have not looked into what this movie has actually made, but looking at it from somebody who's like, I wonder how much that special effect cost.
But meanwhile, ninjas. We introduced into the ninjas characters, which there is one white guy.
White guy, yeah.
Who we'll talk about later. I wasn't ready to like say, oh yeah, these are just white ninjas, but there are. It's a weird, like, I don't know. We'll talk about this more later when we get toward the end, when they expose more about the ninja stuff. Next, they show a rip-off of the Uncle Ben scene from Spider-Man, and just like, he's talking to his dad.
Yeah, and his mother. And
his mother's in the back seat,
having like breakfast together.
Shameless rip-off. Eventually tells Father Stewart what's going on, or it's revealed. Father Stewart comes to the conclusion that he needs to be exorcised. It's then realized that the diocese is too busy to do the exorcism, which is okay, whatever. I mean, they're probably not doing too many of these in real life.
Pretty sure that's illegal. So
yeah, I think it depends on the state. I think this doesn't become an exorcist thing. So since he realizes that the diocese is taking too long, he takes him to Altair.
Yeah. So
which this is a weird concept. It's like, okay, we're gonna go to the dark exorcist who doesn't play by the rules. I'm like, is this a thing you should be doing as a Catholic? Is this how this works? I mean, okay. Granted, they're taking this from like police officer trope, where it's like, oh yeah, the police can't go any further, so we're gonna go find Prank Castle and he'll solve this. It's like, but I don't think this works. I think this is, it's weird.
And this is where we actually really start to see Brandon Steer come and bring it all together, because he does one thing good in my opinion, and that's world build.
Yeah,
you get lots of backstory throughout the movie, even though you don't want it. Like, you get
we get the full backstory. We get the full backstory of Father Stewart from when he was in Vietnam.
Yes,
which he's maybe a little young to be in Vietnam now. Vietnam was in the 70s. That would make him I suppose he could. He catches him. So we get his full backstory of Vietnam, and like he was talking to a guy, and it's like, which I thought was Altair at first somehow, but then it turned out, it's just some other guy, and he got shot through the neck.
Yes.
And died.
Which was awesome, because I love the fact that the way that Brandon Steer wrote that scene was awesome, because he had this guy named Ollie, and he came in and he is talking to Father Stewart, and he's like...
Pre-Father Stewart. This is just him, Stewart.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He's talking to him, and he's like, we're going to get you out of here, son, and you can name your first kid after me. Name him Ollie, the guy who was never hurt in Vietnam at all. You knew he was going to die under, 30 seconds.
And then the wife shows up in Vietnam somehow. Or wife, girlfriend. She is then blown up and just becomes like a splash of blood. And he's just standing there, dumbfounded. He's like, what the fuck? As much explanation as the audience gets.
Vietnam strip mine is the explanation the audience gets.
Yeah. He is then
heads back to the States.
He's then and then after that he becomes a priest. Re-enter the exorcism that don't play by no rules. At that point, Father Doug's transformation begins to happen, and he rips out Father Stewart's eye. I had thought this killed him, but no, he comes back. The ninja cult somehow saves him.
Yes. Where they give him an eye patch over top of his glasses.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I suppose. It goes underneath. I know this. I have an aunt with an eye patch who wears it over his glasses. Anyway, so that happens. And this scene exists purely so the evil guys can tell us their plan, which is to they have a new fancy brand of heroin or cocaine. Cocaine. They have a fancy new cocaine that's 4 times as addictive. Their plan is to distribute this in the cities, outcompete all the other cocaine dealers, and then at that point cut it off, and then everyone will need to join a support crew and then convert to Christianity.
which seems like a really roundabout way of doing things, and
it's a fun evil plan. Fun, silly evil plan for the purposes of this film. And then he tries to tempt Father Stewart into his goal. You think this is going to go through because they've just saved him from mortal injury. No, Father Stewart dies. They bring him back purely so they have a point of view character to hear this evil scheme, because they can't just Father Doug hearing about this at any point in the movie. But yeah, it's just they just kill him off.
While this is going on, we go back to Doug as the main character.
Yeah.
He had just killed Father Doug in his mind. And so he runs back to Carol's house, and he is sitting there huddled up in droves of newspaper that I guess he just found. Yeah. There's a bed right there with blankets and stuff like that, but he's just hunched down beside the bed itself with these newspapers covering him. And he comes in and he's talking to Carol, and he's like, I just killed Father Doug. And then they bang, and...
Which, by the way, kills my high five scene I like, because it was good characterization and really stuck with their theme. Continue.
I don't know who did the soundtrack for this movie, but the soundtrack was pretty decent. I liked it.
It's fun. Yeah, it's...
I was sitting there in bed because I did watch this on my phone, and it was dark. I had to avert my eyes because of this music. Sex montage.
The epilepsy warning. Yeah, epilepsy warning for this movie, by the way. Fucking, they don't put that at the beginning. They put this bullshit about it being rated X at the beginning, which, is it?
Not really.
I mean,
it's
X...
on YouTube, so there wasn't even really any nudity.
I mean, they have R-rated movies on YouTube that you can watch. Like, it's the paid service, so kids aren't usually. But they freaking put this rated X bullshit on there, and it's like, I don't even know if it's... I mean, we're saying rated R because this is what it would be rated. But yeah, the blood looks really fake. I guess maybe it's rated R because there are some effects of like stuff sticking out of people. But yeah, there's also no nudity.
No.
Even you see more in like the upcoming fight scene than you do in the sex scene. So yeah, they do that. After they finish having sex, the ninjas pop in, and they've since followed them back. Probably happened while they were kidnapping Father Stewart.
Yeah.
They go to attack. The leads fight them off, which apparently they have kung fu training, which would have made more sense for the training montage than the lifting weights, because they know
also, the kung fu in this movie is really bad. There was in one of the scenes there was training montages of ninjas just kicking up into the air every 2 seconds. And
I don't so much. This is one aspect that I don't mind too much being bad, because it's like, okay, training martial artists is expensive. So this I don't mind as much as like the bad special effects or the.
That's fair.
Just because it is a comedy, so like some mediocre special effects. They're not hiring Jackie Chan for this.
No.
He'd be fun for this movie, actually.
He's
old. Yeah, he's old now. You make this in when he's younger. This would be a fun little role for him, I think.
Yeah.
Father Jackie. Then we see a bit more of the ninjas. At first I was like, geez, white ninjas, what's with this? But then I really like Chinese ninjas, because ninjas are Japanese.
That's also fair.
Yeah. So that's also Christian ninjas.
Yes.
So there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. Clearly this is just some weird cult, so moving on. The leads go on to go beat up the ninjas.
Mm-hmm.
Carol is wearing some weird kung fu outfit with like a lot of exposed cleavage.
Yes.
Which is just a weird superhero costume, whatever. Fucking Father Doug has nunchucks.
Father Doug has nunchucks.
Yeah. why? Where did he get nunchucks?
We've never seen these nunchucks before in the movie at all. He's never trained with them.
Again, training montage.
Yeah. But, like, we could have, like... See, this is my issue. Okay? We have a story about a guy who can turn into a velociraptor that he utilizes that, but he also knows martial arts. Like, why... What I'm saying is you could have done something like Kung Fu Priest. You could have done something like... You could have kept the whole plot minus the velociraptor crap and still made a half-decent movie.
You know what I think it is? You know what I think it is? I think super strength effects cost more than velociraptor effects in this movie.
That's fair.
Yeah. But I think it's just a funny concept.
It is.
You could have done this without ninjas, though. Like, he could have just been dealing with a street gang.
Yeah, but you needed the Chinese artifact, connect to the...
Where are velociraptors from? This is the real question.
That's... Okay.
Velociraptors.
They were probably found in China.
Oh, yeah. I know. I'm wondering where they're all found. Oh, yeah, they're Chinese.
Are they?
Yeah, they're like China, Mongolia is where they are.
Okay.
They find a lot of fossils in the Mongolian formations. So yeah, okay, this eventually does lead to China, I suppose. So I guess that's where he came from with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I think that's where his head's where it's turning as a writer. We're thinking about it. Still doesn't explain the ninjas.
No.
Because ninjas are, yeah. And then during the fight scene, they fight some of the ninjas. Carol gets seemingly killed. Which I don't have a lot of patience for them just randomly killing the female lead. Yeah, it's just not something I've...
Gotta build that drama up, though.
Yeah, I don't know. You could have just... You didn't need to... I mean, it was just a bad fake out in the end.
So, with that being said, when they killed Carol, they cut her across the chest.
Yeah. That's a decent effect, actually.
It's a decent effect, but the wound itself didn't look like it would have killed her. It looked like it would have hurt a lot, bled a lot, but I don't think she would have died.
You see this kind of wound a lot in, like, if you've watched a lot of Bleach, you'd see it, like, this is how people die a lot. Where, like, they get the front, like, shoulder to waist cut, and there's, like, a ton of blood, which there's a ton of fake blood for this. But it's just, it doesn't look like the makeup doesn't look like a lethal wound. Very painful. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, this is, like, skinned through the rib cage, and she is bleeding pretty bad.
Yeah.
But, it just doesn't look as deep as its result implied.
They could have, like, stabbed her through the stomach, or...
If this was a Fulci movie... I was going to say Gucci. If this was a Fulci movie, you'd, like, see her heart beating or something. But he doesn't have that sort of money. But enough about that. That's another episode, maybe. Yeah, she gets killed off, and then he does that scene I was talking about earlier where he's like, "It will not save your lives," and then he turns into the Velociraptor, which is a fun little suit. It's funny looking.
Yeah.
It's just like honestly, probably a T-Rex suit.
Yeah, it's definitely not a raptor suit. It's bigger than a raptor. That's another issue I was going to bring up.
Yeah. Or our big dinosaur fans might not like. Yeah, it's clearly just like a old timey T-Rex suit.
So my theory is they had the T-Rex costume before they started shooting this movie, and we're like, let's implement this somehow into this movie, and then. Because they could have, once again, shot everything, kept the plot, kept the priest, have him fight bad guys, not have to.
I'm not entirely convinced that's a unique costume to this movie, also.
What do you mean?
It could be something they bought somewhere. Like,
that's
it's
fair.
not most movies, most monster movies, they gotta make custom costumes. So I don't think this is a custom job.
No.
Yeah, I think this is just something they found. I mean, I don't think this is where most of the budget went.
No.
Yeah, they didn't spend $10,000 on this, I don't think.
No.
Or maybe they did, I don't know. It's sort of sturdy. It doesn't balloon too badly. It balloons, but it's not like distracting. It's not like warping around people and whatnot. Yeah. They do have a scene where he gets knocked over and he's on his side. And I'm like, how are they going to make him get up? They just cut the scene and he's up. Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
That's fair. So he beats most of the goons. He fights... Oh, yeah. This is the first white ninja we see. Turns out he's Father Doug's brother.
Yeah, okay. So
for some reason.
One of the plot lines that I like, for the whole movie, you keep on hearing his parents say, "You're an only child, Doug. You're my favorite son, Doug." And then they cut back to this scene where they introduce the bad guy, and it's a big unveil, and it shows that he's his brother. And then it shows all the cutback scenes from...
Yeah,
the brothers,
including the Uncle Ben scene. It's just like he's sitting in that scene. The mother had been like sitting behind one of the chairs, and it's like he's sitting behind the other chair,
and they're all hugging, and he's just standing there.
There is no explanation for this, by the way. They don't say that he's been kidnapped or something as a child. Nope. He just honestly has some maybe justified rage against these people because they do act like dicks to him. That is, to be fair.
Maybe he's the one, actually, who hired Frankie Mermaid to kill the parents in all actuality, because there was no connection between that. But now, thinking about it, he would have absolutely every single reason to want to blow up his whole entire family.
I was going to say when we were talking about that bit, there's really not really an explanation for him. It's like, oh, yeah, now that you're saying this is probably the reason they're dead. And it's like, yeah, this is, okay, that was subtlety. But yeah, so they fight. The brother had discarded a sword earlier in the fight. He then proceeds to call it with the Force, I can only describe as. And like in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, the sword flies past him to Doug's hand. And yeah, he then uses it to kill his brother.
Because it is an heirloom blade. It was his family's blade, apparently. Because people have family blades.
Then he fights the big main guy, who shoots him with an arrow that suppresses Velociraptor powers. Which I guess explains why there's not like his explanation why there's not like a million of these guys running around. Is like, okay, this is how we killed these guys to begin with. The main guy, he's supposed to be Chinese, I suppose, and he sounds vaguely German actually when he talks with an English accent. Could just mean like a German guy taught him English. But he just sounds vaguely German in this. I don't know.
I never really sat down and listened to his dialogue too much. One of the biggest issues I had with the bad guy is they spent way too much time on maniacal laughter between him and the white guy. Like,
yeah, that was a joke, and it's
40 seconds of them just laughing back and forth.
It maybe went on a bit too long. I kind of liked it. I didn't really get a laugh out of me though.
No.
Yeah, I was like, this is amusing. It turns out then that sedative didn't reach Doug's arm, and then he uses the one dinosaur arm to stab bad guy through the chest. We've been saved. Then we proceed to the hospital where the smug doctor shows up.
Oh, sorry, I want to go back on that. He does not stab him through the chest. He rips off his head.
Oh, yes!
And then it's a mannequin cutout of him, and you can clearly see it's a mannequin.
They're not hiding the fake head in this, like 70s horror movie would be, or 70s gore movie would be hiding the fake head.
Yeah.
Because it's not particularly good either. It's not even like it looks drawn on.
They gave him a mustache even, like the goatee that the guy had.
It's not a fancy, creepy looking head. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then he takes Carol to the hospital, and this justifiably smug doctor is just like, fucking saved your life, bitch. Because granted, he brought her back from the dead within this universe's logic. So he has a reason to be smug. He just did a good doctoring today.
Okay.
Yeah. So he has a reason to be kind of smug, and he's like, you want to go see her?
Then he stops and he lights up a cigarette in the middle of an an OR, but like
in the waiting area.
Waiting area. But
I actually like this doctor. He's like, yeah, I'm a fucking miracle worker. I'm gonna save this woman's life and then go home to my hot Asian wife. They end the movie with like them standing over this classic car and just being like, oh yeah, I've ditched my priesthood, which is fucking... What are we gonna call a sequel now? You can't call it Velocipastor anymore because he's not a pastor anymore.
No.
It's Velociformer Pastor now.
That's too long.
Yeah, exactly my point. They should have let him keep it... First of all, they could have made him a Protestant priest.
Yeah.
That would have solved half the issue here. But no, they've just kind of ditched their premise. Which, I don't know, maybe he doesn't intend to make a sequel, but there's room for it.
Yeah, he wrote it very open-endedly. There definitely could be at some point in time.
The Altair, or whatever his name is, he's still around to do like rogue exorcisms, so he's a possible threat. There's probably more to this international crime syndicate that they're fighting. And yeah, him and Carol are gonna go fight crime as a Velociraptor and his lovely sidekick. So what do you give the movie?
I don't know. If I had to say anything about the movie, once again, I like the fact that Brandon Steer went in and did some decent world building around nothing, including the main characters. Mostly side characters that have like one bit, but he did a good job on that. I like that. I got a chuckle out of the couple of cutback scenes and stuff like that. If I were to rate the movie, I'd still rate it low. Like, just because you guys are bad and you're doing something bad, you know it's bad, doesn't mean you can't. They're going to be like, oh, but we were trying to be bad, so it's justifiable. Yeah. Like, which is something it's still bad. Like,
it's something that people are getting after people for, and it's like, your mileage will vary about how you see this sort of, because it's like, okay, do you think this joke is fun? That, okay, we're making a movie without any budget. Is this a joke that entertains you? Which, who knows? As for me, I'm gonna give it 6 out of 10 because I enjoyed it more than
Here's the thing. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I spent $4 on it, rented it, watched it, came back to it. I probably watched a couple of the scenes over a couple of times. Found it funny. $4 really can't go wrong.
Yeah. I think a 6 out of 10 for me is like something that's like, okay, there's a lot that's not great in here, but it's like I enjoyed it. I walked out happy. I'm not, like, it hasn't done anything to make me annoyed. So, 6 out of 10. You want to give it a number?
I don't know. I'd say, here's the thing. You can polish a turd all you'd like. It's still a turd, right? So, I don't know. With that being said, I think I'll rate it a lot lower. Brandon Steer, you know what you did, and you did it wrong. So, I'm going to give you, I don't know, 4 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. What are we watching next week, Cody?
I have literally no clue. We do have a list of
20 movies, and that'll be the season 1. Let's roll a dice here. We have a dice. Yeah, roll it. That will be Predator 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Predator 2.
Yeah. Predator 2 next time.
Okay.
But see you guys next week. I shouldn't say next week. See you guys in 2 weeks. See you guys in 1 month. I will edit that. I'll edit in whatever one I end up deciding on. I have the power. I am the editor.
As long as you don't write, direct, and edit, you are fine.
Yeah. Good night, folks. Hey kids, thanks for watching the episode. I'm Editor Kyle. I'm different from the Kyle you just listened to in that I am from the future and possess superior technology. Seriously, I just bought a new tablet. I am literally in possession of superior technology than the guy you just listened to. I hope you enjoyed the episode. We are improving it for the next episode. The clicking you've noticed in some of this is gone for the next one. We did solve that. For those of you disappointed that we're not doing a more independent film like we did this time for the next episode, we will be doing some more of that in the future. I won't get into the exact details, but just stick with it for a little bit. There will be a more independent stuff on the list. We have 20 regular season episodes planned. Some independent stuff, some mainstream stuff, some stuff that didn't turn out well and is somewhat unknown and watched only by a couple of people, and also a sub-theme for the season, which is Razzie films that aren't actually that bad. So I hope you'll join us for the next week's episode. We are going to try to keep this on a weekly basis. I don't have it uploading on a particular day just yet, unless I end up doing it. Episode 2 isn't out yet, but I am going to at least try to get an episode out once a week, if not on the same day every week. This is probably going up Sunday. If you want to keep in touch with us, you can follow us on Twitter at Kyle and Cody's Cult Classics, at KC Cult Cinema Pod. There you can find the updates on when the new episodes come out, and some just random thoughts from me and Cody when we get the inclination to share them with the world. That is also a work in progress. I don't think we have a logo just yet. That will come soon. I am currently in the process of editing episode 2, and I hope you'll enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoy the product of Season 1. For now, bye. See you next week. For the music goes to @royaltyfreemusic.com.